Hello, everybody. I'm Gast with Ao and Char, who are the creators of FEOC, Origin of Creation. And for this edition of FEE3, I'll be interviewing them on their project, and I'll be asking them about questions regarding the development and the new additions and changes of their project. So first of all, just for introduction's sake, I'm Gast, your host of FEE3 2015, and with me is Char and Ao. So how about you guys give yourselves an introduction and tell us what your sort of role is with the project.
Hi guys, this is AK. I'm one of the main developers for FEOC. I'm primarily a spriter and I do most of the hacking and some mapping. So that's my job.
And I'm Char. I do the spriting and as well, and I do some writing and developing.
All right, and you guys have some new team members who couldn't make it for the interview today. So how about you give them a shout out?
Sure, we have my waifu Ni, Dorothea. She was added third,
Last
and
year.
yeah, last year she was present for the interview, but this time could not make it. She primarily does spriting, and we've been catching her up on any work that was done before. And most recently, we've added Mew and the Merc as extra spriters. Mew will probably be doing more art than spriting, and Nick will be doing primarily spriting.
And is Merc also doing just primarily spreading and stuff?
He's done,
Yeah.
well, yeah, kind of, pretty much. We're pretty much a whole team of spriters.
Well, as long as you have a hack, as long as you have like a dedicated hacker, then you're golden. It's really all you need.
Yeah,
Yeah.
pretty much. I think that's
Oh,
pretty much like my job at this point, and Char does like scripts and stuff too, and I end up being editor a lot of times.
I
Mm,
guess you can describe FEOC as quoted by Merck. It is a hack by the spriters for the spriters.
it'll. I feel like just the sheer amount of like talent that your team has is just going to be the best looking visual hack, or the best looking hack, uh, probably ever. Are you guys planning on doing CGs as well? I feel like Mew would be
Yes,
responsible for that sort of
yes,
thing.
Yes, everything.
yes, we will.
We're planning
We
on
actually, yeah,
we're planning on CGs, mugs, battle sprites, everything.
All right, interesting, interesting.
yeah. We're gonna change up UI. We're hopefully gonna make some custom map sets or tile sets, and we're going to eventually port to XNA, which should also help that a lot. Because as it stands, ROM hacking is not something I'm super good at, but it's to a point where I can actually get demos done at the very least, or simple chapters.
I was going to ask you about patch history, but before that, I guess I can ask this question. So a lot of people are new to hacking and are new to Serenades and FE Universe and the whole community in general. And for a lot of people, this is the first FE3 sort of event they've seen. So to get us all caught up to speed, in case there are some people who don't know what the project is, could you give me the basic plot, description of like the lords, the most updated lords, I should say, and just some general themes that Origin of Creation is aiming to sort of shoot out, I suppose.
So as it stands, FEOC is really it started out as a sort of community pet project thing, and as we were going through and developing it, it's become more of a what we really want to do with it is we really want to incorporate the name Origin of Creation into the whole plot as it stands. So there's a lot of stuff that in the game that deals with sort of like events that happened revolving the creation of our world, Spelaria, which is going to be renamed at some point because that was one of the random names that was tossed out. Yeah, so basically, without going into like super spoilery detail, because even though we've rewritten the story so many times, it's still basically revolving around the same thing. which is that there's sort of a conspiracy, I guess, in the creation of our world and how it ties into our current, mythos sort of thing. Because like our world has a very established sort of religion, and as we go through the story, basically you realize that the religion may not quite be what you expect it to be,
Ah,
as it's so spoken in the beginning.
right.
And well, it's not. I wouldn't really say that it's like a super religious experience, like whoa, but we really, really want to get that whole like maybe things aren't all what they seem to be, and good is not necessarily good, evil is not necessarily evil. There's a lot of gray.
So, and the reason we chose to go with a everything is gray instead of these are the bad guys, these are the good guys, is because very much to real life, war is not, we're the good guys and they're the bad guys. To the soldiers, that's how it is. But, who really is on the right side anytime people are at war? And so that's kind of what we were going for. We want a more grounded, more realistic game. Um, but, AK covered most of the good stuff. As for the lords, way back in the day, it used to be 3 lords a la FE7. It was Oscar, Dimitri, and Reyes. And after many revisions, we've actually changed it up. We added a lord last year, and this time we actually have done more edits. Oscar was a character created by another developer that used to be with us until he got slammed by the real life. And, he started a family. So it was unrealistic for him to stay with us. Back to Oscar. He was a prince from country Ashgarde. He was kind of like a stick in our machine. He was blocking the cogs. And so we eventually opted in moving him around, and as of right now, I'm pretty sure we've decided that we are cutting him as a lord.
Oh, that's
Yep,
new.
he is not a lord no mo. He'll still be important to the story, to the game. He just will not be a lord.
He's getting like nil status.
Maybe. I mean, I'm not going to go into detail because we got some surprises, but he is not. He is no longer a lord.
Kind of. He's been relegated to NPC status.
Oh, that's even worse. NPC status.
Oh no no
Okay, he's still,
no! Yeah.
All right, so
Yeah.
there.
he's still important, but he's just not a lord anymore. And because we've freed that slot up, it's helped us a lot in being able to develop our story more in the direction we want to go. Because we were really stuck around Oscar as our main character and main lord, because all of the previous lore was surrounding his story. And so that's, it's really given us a lot of freedom to plan other things, as much as we love Oscar.
So now that one of your lords has been cut off, has the significance of Dimitri, Reyes, and Tikal, I want to say?
Yep.
Yeah. Have they? How has their development changed, if they have?
Well, it's actually really funny because Reyes and Dimitri have literally have not changed since early. Um, they've had character development whenever we, talk about them and all that. But as per the story, they're just as important as they used to be. We were just having trouble fitting Oscar in realistically without feeling forced.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
That's kind of
so
the issue you have when you have like a number of lords that's like more than 3.
mhm.
One's obviously going to get the least screen time, and sometimes you got to decide if they should not be a lord altogether or just sort of
Lead him to
MacGyver like cutscenes for him.
yeah, or make him Ella Rachel in Sacred Stones or
Yeah.
Ninian.
Oh,
uh,
Ninian.
but yes, Dimitri and Reyes are just as important in the story. Um, Arguably, Reyes is the most, but at the same time, she's the least involved. So it's kind of a crazy dynamic.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of funny. To call, we've been actually talking and trying to make her even more involved, and we've been doing a pretty good job. So she's she's pretty important.
And for those who aren't sure as to who Dimitri is or who Reyes is, could you kind of give me, and for the people who are watching right now, or when FE3 comes up, sort of a background of Dimitri and Reyes and Tikal?
Sure. So I'll start off with Dimitri and Tikal, and AK can take over for Ray.
Yeah.
Dimitri is the prince of a country called Malkine, or Malkayan, however you want to pronounce it. They are very traditional. They're in the cold and mountainous area. Uh, General religion, the popular religion in that country is very shamanistic, and they uh, like look towards the stars for answers and stuff. Uh, and Dimitri is basically uh, having none of that. He doesn't. He's the rebel prince. He doesn't want to go to political parties. He doesn't want to go to meetings with no. Wow, I was going to say nobles and royals and said noyals. He doesn't want to go to meetings with royals and nobles.
He just wants
Um,
to stay in pubs and eat a bunch of food.
yeah, he wants to eat a lot of food. He wants to talk to the ladies, and he wants to fight because he's really good at fighting, and he's really good at tactics. So that's his thing. He feels like he's better at war and at fighting than he is at political foray.
Right.
Takal, she is a tribal person. She's very um, she's from Hatino, which is a country that is basically uncivilized compared to the rest of the world. They're full of tribal people, um, except for an area in the mountains, because it's like a desert country. Uh, an area in the mountains has been civilized by a different country through missions and stuff. Think back to like U.S. history when Spain came over to the well, to North America and civilized the Native American tribes and stuff.
Right.
And so they've been civilized that way. Because last year they were still very tribal, very I guess close to their roots culturally.
Mm-hmm.
This year we've decided that it'd be better to fast forward on their civilization and have them a little more civilized and modern. Uh, Except, further out into the desert or further out into the country, they are still very tribal, very, savage or whatever you want to say. Um, but, there are some tribes that are up to date. And so she's from one of the up to date um, tribes, I guess, is how you would say. Um, and she is basically Pocahontas, but not really. She can paint with all the colors of the wind, and she she's basically very attuned to Earth and the spirits and all that, and she catches wind of the the plot or whatever. And the game actually starts off with her. We figured that she would be a very good way to introduce the new players into this world and kind of ease them into the plot besides being slapped in the face and be like, here you are, this is the plot, go. uh, and so that's pretty much her importance. She's much like a important Lynn, I guess.
Right. That's kind of the vibe I got. Is that she was
Yeah.
sort of like a Lynn, except she like did more than just like find out where the Black Fang was or something.
Yeah, like we were discussing how Tikal would fit in, and we were just like, I really don't want another Lynn because Lynn basically becomes entirely unimportant past her, her arc, and that was it. So we were just like, okay, we need to fit to call in a more important place, and she has to actually do a thing instead of just be there and be like, that one lord that actually does a thing, I guess.
Yeah.
And then it's shipped off with the other lords at the very end.
And lastly, Reyes.
So Reyes, as we've kind of seen in the previous demos, she's a bit of an ass. She's our like super political one, where Dimitri is like our Hector and is non-political and not diplomatic.
Right.
Reyes is like politics is Reyes's bread and butter, pretty much. As it stands now, we're not really sure if she's going to be like a really main lord as much as she is like a side lord with a lot of background information that's attached to her.
Right.
So that's more something to look out for in terms of Reyes as a character or as her importance to the plot. She's more of a defensive unit that can poke things really hard.
She's a tank.
She's our tank pretty much.
That's interesting how you have Dimitri, who's like your sort of knight, who's more, I suppose, geared towards strength, but then you have Reyes, who's more geared towards defense. And I'd assume that Tikal is geared towards speed or something.
She's geared towards precision. She'll crit you. She'll attack you twice.
Yeah, all that
she
swordmaster stuff. Yeah, bows are really interesting to see in hacks because a lot of hacks these days are having more sort of like letting archers. They usually go with the first thing they do is give short bows one range, and then sometimes they make them 3 to 5 range, and then sometimes they give them insane character growth. So
everybody's been trying to make archers relevant because everybody knows that nomads are superior, and then paladins with javelins are superior.
Yeah. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see a bow lord. Bow lords are always interesting to see. Okay. So next question. The game has been in development, and it's sort of been floating around patches for a few years now. There have been a few public patches that have been removed. So what's your sort of history on your patches that you ended up taking down, and do you have sort of a planned patch, X amount of chapters coming up, maybe around FE3 time or later next year?
Well, as far as our old demos go, the reason why we took down the first patches, I think for 2012, 2013, we took down those patches because we had an issue with sprite theft from FE7 if. Like, we tried to contact them, and they were just generally just, no, because they're Japanese, we can't speak Japanese, and they don't give a fuck. And that was really upsetting to us, especially because one of them was one of mine, it was an Alexis mug, and then another one was, Char's Bonnie, yeah. And Bonnie was like,
oh man, her palette got butchered. Oh my god.
They butchered like, everything.
They butchered that palette so bad.
And
okay, so basically, so we took those down due to sprite theft, and basically because the last few patches after that were, let's be honest, we don't work on anything until FEE3 comes around. So all of our demos are kind of hastily scrapped together, and they are a little bit buggy despite how much I've like bug tested them, and they're literally like 1 to 3 chapters long. So we found it easier to just sort of hand out one copy of it to somebody who wants to LP it and have them record it and LP it and then submit that than it is to release a public demo, because we've been rewriting this thing every single year. Like every single time we put up a demo for FEV3, we were like, okay, great, we got shit done, let's do this. And we sit down and we brainstorm, and then we're just like, shit, this doesn't work anymore. And so we always end up rewriting it after every demo comes out.
That'll be something to look forward to, because I'm sure a lot of us have heard and have seen videos of FEOC, and we're all itching to see those mugs. Because I know the first thing I'm doing when I get that patch is opening up Infeditor and just like observing the artwork and just
Yeah,
being like,
that's
wow.
kind of a thing we're a little leery about. Like, we don't mind people looking at stuff, but when people start taking stuff, it hurts the soul.
Yeah, well,
Like,
yeah,
your
that's
artist's soul just cries because you're just like, I worked so fucking hard on that thing, and you're just gonna like steal it and run off with it and butcher it, who God knows how.
And
yeah,
that's our baby too. Like, our baby character got butchered and
yeah.
turned into some, like, I don't know. I don't
Some
I
really,
don't
some
want to talk
really,
about it.
yeah. I'm sure it's rough, but
Especially when the sprite's worse.
yeah, the cool thing about this community at least is that we're really on point when it comes to sprite theft. It takes like I don't know how people do it, how they do it so quick, but they're really sharp. Even like low key sprites that aren't even part of a hack, people will just like pick up on it, which is
Mhm.
actually pretty sweet. But yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, it does suck, and it totally is understandable to take down a patch, worrying about that. But I actually heard that FE7 if got canned, so hopefully you guys are safe.
I don't know. I mean, FE7 if has been hanging around for a long time, and people like there are rave reviews about it, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm really glad the whole artist community kind of sticks up for each other because that's really what we need to do.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. All right, patch history. What else we
Oh, I
got?
guess.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I guess. Oh, something else that we were planning this year, along with this FEOC demo, was to come up with the the prologue chapters. It's I guess.
Well, that's required for hacks. It's a prologue.
Well, no, I mean like for this year. That's what we're slating. The prologue chapters for how many are there? Like six, seven,
I think
eight.
there's 6 to 8. I don't really remember. I think it was maybe 7 because the last one I said we could smash together into the seventh. I don't know, something like that.
Yeah,
So
something
somewhere
like
in that ballpark.
somewhere between 6 and 8 chapters of Takal's arc.
Oh.
We want to slate that for this year.
Interesting. Wow. 6 chapters. Jeez. Or 8 or whatever. That's a lot of content. So aside from what seems to be time being your biggest sort of issue in terms of sort of developing the hack, is there anything else aside from time and rewriting story that sort of proves challenging? Are there any sort of mechanics that you're planning on implementing, like gameplay wise, that you're sort of like weary of actually implementing? Because I know there are a lot of crazy new gameplay ideas that people have, but it's kind of daunting to try to like actually get that in the game. So is there any sort of like really sort of like gameplay defining sort of aspects of FEOC that you're planning, and do you find them sort of challenging to think about or make?
Yeah, we've actually really been talking about that because I'm not a great hacker and hacking isn't my main stint, obviously. But since with like the advent of Fire Shell, or I guess it's Blazing Shell now, that,
Yeah, something like that.
yeah, that Arch is making,
Arch
I was
shell,
thinking
yeah.
of using that, but there's not a whole lot of development quite finished for it yet, so I'm a little leery of trying it because of my inexperience. But what we'd really like to do is we'd like to, obviously we've said the thing about the archers, we're going to try and spice up archers a little more. We're also going to try and have more personal skills because we thought skills was a really neat thing and it would make the characters like it would give you more options to actually use characters instead of just high tier character, low tier character. You'd have a different play style by using characters you actually enjoyed using or you actually liked instead of just this character has shit growth, so I'm not going to use them. That sort of thing. I think we also wanted to spice up our objectives a little more because as we were playing through Awakening, and most of Awakening is literally just route or defeat commander, or that sort of thing, and that's really boring.
Yes.
And basically, what we were trying to do previously was our different lords would have different sort of play styles, I guess. Like Oscar was a lot of reconnaissance. he was like stealth stuff. So instead of like engaging the enemy head on, you had the option to sort of sneak around things and like, get to your objective first without killing as many things. Or
Ste-
Dimitri, who was, yeah.
Yeah, stealth is kind of tough to do in Fire Emblem. That's something that is a really big hit or miss. So
Yeah.
Yeah. And then we were also planning on doing like the escape objective for him, because that kind of seemed, logical. If you're doing stealth stuff, then you're also gonna need some escape stuff. It just fits thematically.
Yeah, and he kind of had a couple of like puzzle sort of maps. Like you had to hit like a switch here, and then that would activate something here. Those kind of things. We were hoping that wouldn't be like too game breaking, but at the same time, it's a little more interesting than just bum rush everyone or like turtle harder.
Yeah.
That's kind of that was sort of to me as like our more classic FE playthrough. His was like all war games. It was just defeat enemy, route command, route, siege, or like seize the point, or defeat commander, that kind of thing. So he was more classic FE because that's what he's good at. Tikal's were like blitzes. All of hers were quick skirmishes, and they had actually one of the interesting things about the Tikal arc that is coming up, or that we plan to release soon, is that her sort of the area she's from has a lot of different cultures, and we want to introduce a lot of those different cultures and how like they fought differently. Like for example, summoners, we really wanted to bring in a summoner, and you'd have like phantoms popping up here and there, and so you'd actually get to like fight like skeletons and revenants and stuff instead of just, hey look, it's a brigand, let's go chop him in half. For Reyes, what it was hers were also kind of skirmish blitzes, but we really wanted to implement something that gave you options, so you could play as like, you can do politics, and so like, do you want to do this, yes or no, and depending on yes or no, you would get maybe more enemies, fewer enemies, stronger enemies, something like that. So that would be something we would like to implement, but due to my relative inexperience, it may be a little bit difficult.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure you can, like, MacGyver a summoner in FE7. But I'm not really sure. But yeah, that sounds kind of tough.
Yeah.
You probably could if you made...
I think it would be doable. I mean...
Yeah, if you made the boss sort of, like, not move at all and just have...
stuff pop up.
Yeah, next
like
to
reinforcements and use that teleport little thing.
Yeah, you got it. There you go. There's your summoner.
Yeah.
And you can import the Phantom, and presto, you're good. All right, so that's cool. That's cool. So a lot of game mechanics, or not so much, mechanics, and also sort of chapter goals are sort of the more standout sort of aspects in your gameplay, is what I'm getting at. So last question of the interview, and I usually sort of ask this with my other interviews, is, are there any sort of people you want to give a huge shout out to? I know there are your other 3 members who couldn't make it today, but are there other members that should be getting some FEOC love?
Well, Army is the first person that comes to mind, because he was pretty much paramount in actually the thing happening in the first place, despite him not being present anymore for family reasons.
Yes.
Yeah, there are our 3 new cast members who bailed on us.
I was really looking forward to hear Nee actually speak, because
she spoke in the previous one. She was just like, "Bitch, I will end your bitchy.
I will end your bitchy ass, bitch. Give me pizza.
Give me wine."
I guess we'll also thank Skitty for all his help.
Oh, yes.
Past.
And yeah, we're shout outs to all of the other veteran hacks out there and stuff, because we've kind of worked on those too, and we really like those people. So I guess that's like Arch and Yeti and Mike and stuff like that.
Yeah,
we're not very good at this. We're not very pretty good at this.
We're the hermits, so
Yeah, we're pretty
I'm
much the
kidding.
hermits. Like, if you ask us to do stuff, we will probably help you out, but otherwise it's just like, hi, we're just gonna sit here and disappear for a while, quietly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, whatever. It's okay.
I'd like to thank my mommy and Jesus and
My cat ninja.
Ninja. Oh man, wavelength. And I'd like to thank Gast for interviewing us.
Oh yeah, Eggs Gast.
Oh, shucks. Well, thanks for, finding time in your, busy schedules. I know it's tough to try to find private time when you're at your house in the fall or in summer, I mean. I had to, tell my parents, okay, do not come in my room. I'll be busy for the next hour. And they're like, doing what? And I was like, oh, God, nothing. It's none of your business. Oh, my God, my dad walked in, and I was working on a cutscene, and Malcolm, Malcolm came up and he talked about Volupri, and then my dad was like, "What's a Voluperous?" And I was like, "Oh God, please go away."
Oh man.
He's like, "What's a Voluparian?" And I'm like, "Wow, you stop, please, just go away, please." Oh man, it was rough. I was like, "Wow, my parents were trying to be cool."
Probably brought it up at dinner too. Oh yeah, I looked it up and it means this.
I think I read a book about Volupernin. It's like, no, you didn't.
No, it's impossible.
That doesn't exist.
Well, that was the interview for Fire Emblem Origin of Creation for FEE3 2015. Just wanted to give a big thank you to Ao and Char for joining me, and shout outs to the other members of the team and other previous members. Would you guys want to say a little goodbye and then we'll call it a day?
Thanks for doing this interview with us, Gast, and we hope you all enjoy FE3 2015.